Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Neeru Tandon, Department of English, VSSG College, Kanpur. We are discussing paper 13th, Linguistics. This module 1, what is linguistics? It deals with the key concepts of linguistics, various theories, various point of views, definitions, and the key concepts and the areas and the branches that we will deal with. Now, when we talk about linguistics in one sentence you can say that it is the scientific study of language. Which language? Are we talking about French, German, English, or just one or a group of languages? No, it's not. When we talk about linguistics, it is not the study of a particular language, but it is the study of language in general. Now, question comes, why study linguistics? You can see in this image that because language is fascinating. It fascinates. Why? Because we cannot imagine our life without language. Language is there with each and every one. So, let's study. This is a simple curiosity to know more about it. Of course, we speak. Of course, we can speak. But how do we speak? How did we get this language, the facility, the thing that how to speak, how it comes naturally to us? These are the various questions that can come in the mind of anybody and everybody. Now, linguistics as a study in the academic field is important because there are various jobs available after doing the study of linguistics. Like some examples are there that teaching English as a second language, that is TESOL, then research jobs with competence like Microsoft, Apple, IBM, etc. There also you need the study of linguistics. Then government jobs, then you can go for teaching, and then with documentary language in a foreign country, or you can be an interpreter or use your linguistic skills in the field of anthropology, law, library science, psychology, or sociology. Now, what are the common misconceptions about linguistics? People say that who is a linguist? Linguist is a person who knows many languages. Somebody says linguist is a person who can teach many languages or speak many languages. No, it's not. In fact, a linguist is someone who just knows a lot of language is incorrect. A linguist is someone who just knows lots of big words is also incorrect. So then which of these jobs a linguist does? So a linguist, he studies a lot of different languages. He studies how children learn languages. He studies conversations. He studies speech sounds. He studies language structure. Yes, all of the above and much more. Now let us define what is linguistics. I just quote some definitions. Z. Duffy, he said, linguistics observes language in action as a means for determining how language has developed, how it functions today, and how it is currently evolving. St. Pitt Corder said, I quote, linguistics is concerned with the nature of human language, how it is learned, and what part it plays in the life of the individual and the community, unquote. So linguistics tries to answer two basic questions. as Victoria A. Fromkin said, the scientific study of human language is called linguistics. Now in this image in front of you, you can see this diagram where you will find that at the top it is linguistics, and as various branches you have sounds of language, then grammar, and then meaning. Then they are further divided into various subfields. When we talk about sounds of language, it has been further divided into phonetics and phonology. Then it is grammar has been divided into morphology and syntax, and then meaning again in semantics and pragmatics. Now, elements of general linguistics, when we talk about this thing, we say that linguistics deal with the language and its scientific way how it can be adopted. We call linguistics a science. Why? Why it is a science? Because its working is scientific, because it has all the components that science has. So when we deal with the language in a scientific way, it automatically becomes scientific. So it follows the general methodology of science, such as controlled observation, hypothesis formation, analysis, generalization, prediction, testing by further observations, etc. It may be inductive or deductive, but it is objective, it is precise, it is uniform, it can be applied on so many at a time. It is systematic, that is also very, very important. So when we just monitor that it is objective, it is systematic, it has got all those properties, so very easily we can say that it is scientific. We can believe that the scientific study of language is linguistics. So it is proved that it is somewhere between natural and social sciences, because sciences, when we say it's science, it's not enough to say that it is science. What kind of science we are talking about? Is it a natural science? No. It is somewhere between the natural and the social sciences. I quote the definition given by Robbins. He said, linguistics is an empirical science, and within the empirical sciences, it is one of the social sciences because its subject matter concerns human beings and is very much different from that of natural sciences, unquote. Thus, a linguist is a scientist who investigates human language in all its facets, its structure, its use, its history, and its place in the society. When we talk about language, only one segment of people are not being affected by it. Suppose we talk about anthropology. We can say that a certain group of people are concerned with that. But when we talk about language, we cannot say so. Because each and every one, it is a human language. So each and every human being is concerned, is very much affected, is very much engrossed in this particular science. So it is natural as well as social. Somewhere in between come the study. So that is known as linguistics. So it includes a large number of subfields, which is true of most sciences concerned with phenomena as complex as human language. Let us talk about the historical evolution of language. What happened? Plato, let's start with him. Writing between 427 and 348 BC, devoted his dialogue to linguistic issues of his day, and Aristotle was concerned with language from both rhetorical and philosophical points of view. The Greeks and the Romans also wrote grammars and discussed the sounds of language and the structure of words and sentences. In India, we considered Panini's work as a major achievement in the field of linguistics. Now, whenever we talk about linguistics, a very big name that comes in front of us, and that you can see on your screen also, the photograph of Ferdinand de Saussure. Ferdinand de Saussure, a Swiss linguist in this tradition, turned his attention instead to the structural principles of language rather than to the ways in which language change and develop, and in so doing became a major influence on 20th century linguistics. Now, another big name is Edward Sapir, 1884 to 1939. Then we cannot forget Leonard Bloomfield. He was an American linguist who led the development of structural linguistics in the United States during the 1930s and the 1940s. His influential textbook, Language, published in 1933, that presented a comprehensive description of American structural linguistics. Why I am showing you these pictures? Whenever we want to connect with someone, if the image is there in front of you, if I say Sapir, if I say Ferdinand de Saussure, so you must have an image in your mind that about whom we are talking. Okay, this is the picture and this is the name. Now we can connect the person with his name. So you can just see and feel how these great linguists, they just researched and did the scientific study in the field of languages. Now, Roman Jakobson in Europe, Roman Jakobson, one of the founders of the Prague School of Linguistics, came to America in 1941 and contributed substantially to new developments in the field. His collaboration with Maurice Hale and Gunnar Fent led to a theory of distinctive features in phonology, and Hale has remained one of the leading phonologists of the last decades. You can see his picture on your screen. Noam Chomsky. In 1957, with the publication of Syntactic Structures, Noam Chomsky ushered in the era of generative grammar, a theory that has been referred to as creating a scientific revolution. It is concerned with a biological basis for the acquisition, representation, and use of human language, and seeks to construct a scientific theory that is explicit and explanatory. Now, when we discuss linguistics, we have a natural question in our mind. What is the aim of this study? There are twofold aims of studying linguistics. First is to develop certain theory, and the second is to apply this theory on various languages of the world. In a way, you can say that to describe a language and all languages by applying the theory established. When we talk about a linguist and a grammar, or a grammarian for that matter, there is a difference. A linguist does not just emphasize on correctness. A linguist describes language, does not lay down rules of correctness. He is interested in what is said and not what ought to be said. In this way, we can say that there are various differences being a linguist and being a grammarian. You say they are often said to be descriptive and not prescriptive. There is one more difference. That a second important way in which they are different from traditional grammar is that linguists regard the spoken language as the primary one. They believe that speech came first and the written language, the symbols, they all came much later. For their concern, how a man started speaking is the point where language takes birth. What is the script? How a man started writing, they come much later. So spoken language is more important for a linguist than the written one. Thirdly, traditional grammar is based on Latin and it tries to impose the Latin categories and structures on other languages, while linguists describes each language on its own merits. Now, there are various branches of linguistics. You can see on your screen that the main branches we name as phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics and pragmatics. We will discuss them in various modules later on. Now, when we talk about the hierarchy of language, we see that the first unit is phoneme. Then come syllable. After that, we have morphemes. That leads to words, words lead to phrases, and phrases to clauses, clauses to sentence and utterances, and then comes text, then comes discourses. So these are the various different units from small to a very other level. It's not that in one day we started having the discourse with each other and using language the way we want. No, it's not. So we started with the basic phoneme. A child starts with a phoneme. He starts with the sounds, p, m, b, whatever it is. Then comes to words, words lead to phrases, clauses, then sentences, and then to discourse. So this is the science, this is the scientific study of language done by a linguist. Now this photograph, this picture makes it very clear what I tell you. You see in the middle circle, it is phonetics that is leading to one thing after the another. Let us also discuss types of linguistics. What do we mean by types of linguistics? Linguistic is a scientific study of language. So what do we mean by type? We mean theoretical. We mean descriptive. We mean sociolinguistic. There are so many that we'll discuss one after another. First of all, we'll discuss theoretical linguistics. It often referred to as generative linguistics, and it has its basis in views first put forth by Chomsky's The Logical Structure of Linguistic Theory. Its aim was to characterize the nature of human linguistic knowledge or competence and to explain what speakers know which permits them to speak and comprehend speech or sign, that is, the language of the deaf. This is the theoretical linguistics. We are dealing with theories, we are dealing with certain established facts. But linguistics is not all about theory. We have applied linguistics as well. We have various other fields where we can apply linguistics. Another one is descriptive linguistics. It refers to the studies of particular languages and language families from both historical and synchronic points of view. When we talk about historical linguistics, we know that historical linguistics deal with the theory of the language change. How and why language has taken the place. How and why this change has taken place. It has developed the way it did. How and why. These things are being studied in historical linguistics. The comparative method developed in the 19th century by such philologists as the brothers Grimm and Hermann Paul is a method used to compare languages in the attempt to determine which languages are related and to establish families of languages and their roots. We also have anthropological or ethno-linguistics and sociolinguistics that focus on languages as part of culture and society, including language and culture, social class, ethnicity, and gender. Dialectology investigates how these factors fragment one language into many. Then, a very important branch, that is applied linguistics, is an interdisciplinary field of inquiry that identifies, investigates, and offers solutions to language. It also covers such areas as discourse and conversational analysis, language assessment, and language pedagogy. Linguistics is often known as microlinguistics and macrolinguistics. Now we must discuss, we must know whenever we are talking about linguistics, what is microlinguistics, what is macrolinguistics, and what are the various fields being covered by micro and macro. Now you see in this particular figure, that is the fields of microlinguistics. We have phonetics, we have phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, pragmatics, we have analysis, we have applied linguistics, and so on. In this slide you can see the different branches of macrolinguistics. Important one is stylistics, developmental, historical, language geography, psycholinguistics, sociolinguistics, clinical, biolinguistics, neurolinguistics, and computational. We are talking about computational linguistics that deals with the natural language basis of computer application, machine processing, for example, and understanding computer simulation of grammatical models. Then we have mathematical linguistics that deals with the formal and mathematical properties of language. Also have neurolinguistics. Neurolinguistics studies the mind, how mind controls the language, how language affects the mind, and various other things related with brain, language, and mind are being studied in this particular branch. Psycholinguistics deals with language performance, the production and comprehension of speech. Then we have ontogeny linguistics that deals with child language acquisition, how children acquire the language. It becomes a thing of curiosity because it is so natural, it is so general that we don't feel surprised. But a child, when he takes birth, when a child is there in the Hindi region, he started speaking Hindi. He is there in France, he adopts another language with the particular and the same ease. How it happens? What are the various factors affecting his mind to do that? So that is being studied in this particular branch. Then perspective linguistics refers both to the codification and the enforcement of rules governing how the people of a particular speech community should use a language. Chomsky introduced two important notions of language, that is known as E-language and I-language. These two, E and I language, are the technical notions of language. Chomsky's E-language is supposed to suggest by its initial E both extensional and external. Chomsky therefore concludes that languages cannot be defined or individuated extensionally or mined externally, and hence the only scientifically interesting conception of a language is the I language view. Whorfianism linguistic anthropologists have explicitly taken up the task of defending a famous claim associated with Sapir that connects linguistic variation to differences in thinking and cognition more generally. The claim is very often referred to as the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. The term Sapir-Whorf hypothesis was coined by Harry in his contribution to a conference on the work of Benjamin Lee Whorf in 1953. The central idea of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is that language functions not simply as a device for reporting experience, but also, and more significantly, as a way of defining experience for its speakers. General nativists maintain that the prerequisites for language acquisition are just general cognitive abilities and resources. Linguistic nativists, by contrast, claim that human infants have access to at least some specifically linguistic information that is not learned from linguistic experience. To summarize, we can say that linguistics is the scientific study of language. Language is human because humans, they depend very much on particular language. So when we deal with the scientific study of language in a scientific way known as linguistics and deal with various branches of linguistics like microlinguistics, macrolinguistics, then deal with various components like syntax, like other, as I have discussed before, then we come across the concept of linguistics, various theories of linguistics, and try to understand that linguistics is very important aspect of language, because with this only we can understand what the language is, how it has evolved, how we deal with it, and what are the various factors affecting the development of the language concerned. Thanks for visiting EPG Pathshala.